inside from my soul.
So our next speaker is Clyde Fernandez, who is the Regional Director of Salesforce and most commonly known as the Silver Lining Chaser, both in and out of the office. A proud father of a 37-year-old autistic son, Clyde has successfully hacked his life to be on his terms and living with a glass full. So please help me welcome Clyde to the stage.
I'm kind of flattered that you're here today, Clyde.
Oh.
Just because you're the silver lining chaser, does that mean
I am
we're the
indeed.
silver lining here today?
This is definitely part of my silver lining repertoire. Turn up on a Sunday morning in beautiful Collingwood and have a chat.
Thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure. One of the things I want to tune into is, what is a silver lining chaser?
Silver lining. Where did this come from? So I do a lot of mentoring. Obviously, we have different roles in life, but ultimately, I think what we want to be is leading by example. And when I think about where we are right now, I often talk about the world we're in right now, which is going to perpetuate and going to grow, which is called a VUCA world. I'm not sure if anyone's heard that term before, but VUCA is an acronym which stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That seems to be the sort of some descriptors of where we are right now, and it's getting more of those things, right? So, in that context, people often say to me, "Why are you always smiling? What is going on there? Like, what is?" And I said, "Well, I'm really happy. So, I smile because I'm happy. Why?" I said, "Because I see opportunities. I see opportunities for everybody all around me all the time." So, most people bring problems to me because I think in my job, actually, that's why I've ended up in the job I'm in, is because I like problems and I like finding solutions to them. So, I always see a silver lining in most things.
I love that. So in terms of, you also said this thing about the glass full guy, not the glass half full guy.
Yeah. It's all about perspective, right? So the glass is there, and some people say, you're a glass half empty or half full person. And that implies, it's a bit of a binary thing, you're either negative or you're positive. And the association is if you're a glass half full person, then you're a positive person. If you're a glass half empty, you're more of a not so positive person. And I go, there's a third category, it's called the glass is full. You just can't see the other half. You don't see it because we've been conditioned not to see it. But that thing which is in the top half of the glass, it is the most important thing to us. Because when I think about things, I always go back to first principles. And I think about the first thing that drives me is my purpose. And I think about what is it that's going to help me deliver on my purpose or meet my purpose. And I go back to first principles. What's the first principle of living? The most important thing we need to do. If we don't do it within 6 minutes, what happens? We're dead. What is it? Breathing, right? So, and it's oxygen. And so that glass, half full, I say it's full. It's just different forms of different things in there. We sort of open up our aperture and think about it differently.
I love that. So there's so much perspective in there. I'm really curious. What is your purpose, Clyde?
Oh, this is like we prepared this. A little bit of preparation. So, fortunately for me, and unfortunately for my life partner, it took me about 50 years to work shit out. And I didn't work it out. I was lucky I have this amazing coach in my life who took over the reins from a previous coach in my life, probably about 40 years ago. Look, the good news is I want to set something up front right now. I think about 96% of you will not be going home with me today, but about 4% of you will be. So those 4% who will be, I need to make sure I honour you because the conversation, whatever I say here, is going to be carried forward at home. So you 4% know who you are. So I'm going to make sure that what I say is true, and that's why I love having them here because I always think about when I'm making decisions, having a conversation, I think about 4 people, 1 on my right side and 3 on my left side. The one on my right side is my life partner, Bridget, who happens to be here. And the one on the left side are my 3 sons. And each of them bring different things. But I hit about 50 where this voice came back to me. And it was a voice I was very familiar with. It was called my partner's voice, who's been saying the same thing to me for a long time. Lucky for me, she's patient.
Yeah.
Unlucky for her, she had to endure me for the first, X number of years together. But it's for me, it's all about, I think about her. She's my coach. She's my North Star. So everything goes back to that. And the purpose we came up with together was that we need to outlive Aaron.
Right.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Not quite, probably.
A
Who's
little bit for
Aaron?
me.
Who's Aaron?
Yeah,
So
for
Aaron
the
is our
audience.
eldest son who has severe autism. He is one of the most amazing human beings that we know that's come into our lives. He has fundamentally shaped me, but again, shaped me through some coaching that was provided by this wonderful partner of mine. And each of the 4 people in my family have given me different characteristics or insight.
The people around you.
You've already heard the first one, which is coach, and that's absolutely Bridget's, label. She's my coach. Aaron brings me courage because every day I think about Aaron, and he fronts up every day, not knowing what we know, literally scared shitless is probably put it mildly, right? In terms of what's going to happen, because if those of you who don't know autism, fundamentally it's a condition that affects our anxiety gene, if you like. It goes way over there. So everything generates anxiety. And for those people who've had anxiety attacks, you know what I'm talking about. And this is like anxiety on steroids, so it's pretty horrific. And when you're experiencing that, you've got to have a fair bit of courage to actually turn up every day. So every day he turns up, and he, to me, is a absolute stellar example of what courage is. Aidan, my second son, who happens to be in the audience, he brings compassion. There's no one... I'm going to start crying in a minute. To me, there's nobody who brings compassion more than Aidan. He's a pretty special human being. And we've travelled the world together, which is amazing. And we've crossed paths together, same companies and all that. So I look at him and I think, compassion. And I'm going to stop talking about him because I'll stop crying. And the third person is a young little rock star, not little anymore, not so young anymore, and that's Levi. And Levi brings communication. What I mean by that is he is a communicator. He has taught us how to communicate actually courageously, compassionately, and with clarity.
Yo. Amazing.
I need to breathe now.
I think that's really deep, and just in what you're sharing is also this poignant reminder that actually our relationships are some of our greatest teachers in our life. Oftentimes we are, some of us that are not sitting in the seat that you're sitting in are often challenged by our father, our mother, our siblings, and so forth. But the reminder is there's always that opportunity to see them as our teacher and the lessons that they bring for us.
Yeah, I think I'm going to mention to you this notion of ABC. Anyone in sales in the audience? Anyone in sales? What does ABC stand for? Yeah, that's the old term. I don't use that one anymore. I use always be curious, because that's a learning posture. That is a posture where you don't know everything. The trouble with sales is we believe we know everything, right? So I happen to fall into sales after a long history in technology, and it's been amazing. It's transformed our family's life, no two ways about it. We started we started off very, very humbly in the back blocks of Western Sydney. And we aspired to greatness, and that greatness was one day we are going to... This is when Bridget used to be called Paula. Different story. Our highlight, our aspiration, the top of the Himalaya goal was one day we will get to spend a weekend at the Manly Pacific Hotel. That was the top of our tree, right? 10 years into our marriage, we ended up there. We looked at each other. We looked at the chocolates and the champagne on the bed. We looked at each other and said, what the fuck were we thinking? But at that time, guess what?
Yeah.
It was, and what was amazing was we achieved it. And what's been great for this journey is we achieved it together, and we achieved it with 3 amazing other human beings, and we achieved it. And something Simone said actually about being kind and nice. This lady who's my coach used to say to me all the time, and I've been reasonably successful career-wise. Been reasonably successful financially. That's probably what it is. And every year I'd come home, strutting in the door. Every year we'd review how the year went. And I was always keen to, get into that report card conversation with my partner. And she'd say, how do you think you went this year? And I went, well, I think I did really well. She goes, yes, you did. Financially, you did really well. Now, this lady of mine, she's not mine, my partner, she is very clever with words. And when she said that, I went, When you say, I did really well financially, what's missing? She goes, all the other stuff. Do not do that ever again. I said, when you say do not, what do you mean? She goes, well, Clyde, we experienced every roller coaster or every deal, and people in sales know this, right? It's an emotional roller coaster because we choose to get in that roller coaster. We choose to exhibit those emotions. Right. She goes, we experienced every one of those. And she goes, and I know you always say to me, come to you with solutions, not problems. Here's the solution, Clyde. Begin your next year as if you've already made your quota. It's a mindset thing. It's a Zen thing for salespeople. Begin the year as if you've already made your quota. Guess what happens then? You behave the way you truly want to behave.
Resonance. Yeah, I love that. So can I ask you a little bit deeper in terms of the relationships, just because I'm loving that space. Do you extend that a little bit further to people outside of just your family as well, when you're seeing and you're interacting with people that in your workspace environment? Are you seeing them for what they bring on into your space as well?
This is going to sound really repetitive, but this lady of mine one day said to me, you know what, Clyde, you're exhibiting about 5 versions of yourself. I went, is that a good thing? She goes, no, it's not. Because you're burning cognitive energy trying to maintain those 5 versions. So I thought a good version at home, partner, father, provider, whatever else, what other labels you want to put in it. Then I had a version at work. Then I had a version with my friends. Then I had a version with my soccer team. That was a horrible version. And then I had a version, on stage, right? So, and she said to me, you know what, Clyde, the version we know, it's a pretty good version. Why don't you just use that version everywhere? And it literally saved me about 40% of cognitive capacity, right? Because honestly, you get so caught up in persona identity that you sort of, whoever you're talking to, you go, oh, you're a friend, okay, I've got to talk this way. Oh, you're at work, I've got to be this way. Oh, you're my employee, I've got to be this way. Then she guided me very well, and she said, just be yourself. And so I did that. I started doing that about 5 years ago, probably actually about 10 years ago. And it's funny because I was really career-oriented, really career-driven, and I thought I was doing really well. And then when I dropped all of the luggage and I dropped all of the attitude and I went back to who I was, my career really took off. It's quite bizarre. So to your question, it's not just about career, it's about you. Just be, and you've heard all use this term before, just be your full authentic self. Bring your full version to everything. Bring positiveness, bring energy. And amazing things happen.
I love that. So conscious leadership in terms of, fundamentally just be who you are in there. What do you think it is that drives us, or, all these people that you mentor as well, to kind of feel compelled to not just be ourselves? Like there's so much, you meet so many personas.
I think there's a word in masculinity, it's called the mask. And all us guys in particular, we wear masks. We do. We wear masks all the time. And quite often as men, we wear a mask because behind that mask is a boy. Because we haven't actually grown up. And so for me, the design point, and I'm a first principle person when I think about things, I go, what? Oh, let me just quick shout out to a group called Shift. Thank you, Levi, because he's the communicator. Shift. So Shift is this grassroots organisation that Levi's amazing partner, Georgia, and Caleb from Culture Amp have facilitating, and we're up to cohort 7, and we're just a cross section of people coming together to talk about activism. Okay, amazing. So a big shout out to them, because what they're talking about is where I'm getting to. We went and did a quick roundtable introduction at the beginning. It was only last Tuesday. It was last Tuesday. I was the 10th person in the circle. So started off with Caleb, went around, everyone introduced themselves. You know, who are you? What are you about? What are you fired up about? And everyone, you know, so Caleb talked about it. Then Lucy talked about Murdoch, right? How do we get rid of Murdoch newspapers? And then the other person talked about what do we do about the climate crisis? And the other person talked about and there's about 6 or 7 different issues, which are all valid issues, and everyone's angry and vexed up. And what do we do? And they came to me and said, "So Clyde, you know, who are you?" Blah blah. And I said, you know, I'm just listening to everything you're saying, and you know, I'm a first principle guy, and I think there's a root issue here. And the root issue here is a thing called patriarchy, and a thing called a lack of sex data in everything we do. What I mean by that is the world is designed for one sex. It's called men. I'll give you some examples. The mobile phone, the piano, number of things. It's designed from a man's perspective because men are in positions of design and in positions of development. The reason why a software company, which I won't mention, you know, designed an AI algorithm which was going to be recognizing people, and it started recognizing every dark person in America as dogs or apes. Why did that happen? Because when you go back and have a look at who designed it, it was 25 to 30-year-old Caucasian men in Bay Area and also in Silicon Valley. So I go back to first principles. To me, I think the issue is we need to think about what has caused us to get here and go and fix the root cause. That isn't so it's easy for me to say, simple for me to say, but not easy to do. We've got a fundamental systemic lift issue we've got to do.
So the implementation of such a thing, where does it begin, in your humble opinion?
Every interaction.
Right.
When I meet you, when I listen to somebody, think about the fact that I've got all this, and I've still got it. I can't get rid of it. This unconscious bias that's been, imbued in me. I came from quite a traditional Anglo-Indian family, and Michael, you talked about, you know, the anger you felt for your dad. I felt that too for my dad because he was a patriarch. Then I got angry with my mum for allowing him to be a patriarch. Then I recognised, hang on, she had no control over it, right? So for me, how do you go back to first principles, meet people where they are, understanding they're on there's a whole journey behind them. So be kind, you know, really be kind, show empathy. Going back to Bridget, she said to me, all I want you to do is be nice and kind, which I took as an insult because I thought I was. Then I recognised, hang on, if I think I am and this person's asking me to be kind and nice, maybe I'm not. So stop and just observe.
I love that. One of the questions that's percolating for me is, I wonder if activism is a masculine tenet and whether there is a feminine form of activism, because I'm wondering if, you know, this conversation around activism sounds very yang for me, but maybe that's just my experience of it because my activation is that of a man, right? But then if we activate and then we kind of move into the space which is more feminine, which seems to be the dialogue we've had across the 3 leaders today as well, which is being more open, embracing more of like a feminine openness, recognizing whether you're above the line, understanding our relationships better, that cohesiveness, that empathy is much more of a feminine tenet. But does activation, and maybe it's not for us to say, but is it feel more masculine than, or can there be a feminine version of activism?
I wonder whether there's a doing phase and it's why you're doing it phase.
Okay.
So purpose becomes really important. Everything, you know, I mentioned purpose is really important. So why are you doing that? Is it contributing to your most important issue? Right. There is a difference along the sex line between what those purposes are sometimes. Quite often, have we all heard of EDSO? Simon Sinek's talk about the drugs that drive us all. We sort of talked about it a bit. It's actually the physiology behind us as human beings. E is endorphins, D is dopamine, S is serotonin, O is oxytocin. The first 2 are selfish drugs. They're about us. I get a lovely endorphin high when I go running. What's that about? It's about me. Dopamine, we know where that comes from. these things and gambling and some other things which are addictive. But the other two are really amazing. They're the selfless drugs. When we help somebody, when we show gratitude, when we reach out, when we show servanthood, serotonin kicks in. And that is amazingly good, feel-good hormone that we've got, that we manufacture. So we've got an amazing drug factory in us. It's a matter of what you put your focus on.
I often wonder about those chemicals that we have in our brain and like if our biology is communicating to us. Like I often believe in this, again, first principles kind of guy, the path of least resistance, right? So the fact that, we switch into servitude feels so good. Like for me, one of my biggest challenges in life is freedom. I've got a thing called the Inspired Evolution. It's about living life on your own terms. But then what I've actually come to find, which is, freedom is in your service, is in your servitude. Like I've actually got to be of service to find my freedom. So counterintuitive when you look at it from a black and white perspective. Like I'm someone's, pardon the slave, hence my freedom.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about my biases, right? So when I hear the word servanthood, my Indianish comes out of me, right? So I go, I'm not a servant.
You can see the uniform, can't you? I got one in my. I got one at home.
Exactly. It took the Brits all those hundreds of years to take over our country and colonize it. It took one virus to help them understand the best way to say hello is namaste. So in one way, right, this stuff goes full circle, right? So I do think that it's in the moment, it's in the interactions. You heard me talk about this. I'm a big proponent of habits. It's about doing something. Like if it's happening up here, that's cool for you, and you'll get zen. But as you said, end of the day, you got to, someone pointed to you and said, you need to get out of here now and go and spread the stuff that you've learned right now, because you'll have an amazing. Because you not just will you have big impact, but they identified you as the person who can do it. So when you get that gift, that's what you've got to do. Now, doing, that's a tough one, right? Because doing has got to be done when? Yeah. All the friggin' time, right? So how do you get into a doing habit? And there's some hacks that you can do there.
Tell us about them.
Okay. Well, first of all, the KISS principle is super important, right? Everyone's heard KISS? Not the rock band. That was one of my favorite bands. Keep it simple, stupid, right? The simpler you keep something, the lower the friction to do something, the more likely you are to do it. So my morning routine, which I hope to try and do every day, I typically do, begins with obviously I should have slept for at least 6.15 hours, right? So I'm trying to get up to 8 hours. I used to be a 4.5, 5 hour sleep person, which I thought was awesome. I could get away with it. But this person who was living, sharing a life with me said, no, you're not coping. You're basically eternally comatose. Like if you stop talking for 10 seconds, Clyde, you fall asleep. I said, okay. I thought I was functioning well. No. So sleep's really important, as is breathing, right? So get up in the morning. Third thing I want to do is hydrate. I hydrate. I then go into some meditation. I then do, and this sounds really messy and complicated and lots of things, but it's not. It's really literally within the first half hour I wake up. I do a quick couple of yoga poses just to stretch up the joints. Do a couple of rehab things because I'm older than you guys, and I got to get some of my parts working better. But I'm doing it, and then I get into a HIIT routine. A high intensity interval training routine. Literally 8 simple exercises that anyone can do. 30 seconds each. I go flat out. When I first started, it was hard. And then I have a 30-second break. I do it again, right? So I'm now in a very heightened hot state. Have some more water. And then I go into what I call my learning phase. I want to learn something new. So this is a routine that I try and do every day. It culminates after I cool down. I go and have a cold shower. I've been having cold showers the last 2.5 years. So, that ice bath looks pretty appealing. So cold showers every day. And why do I do that? Same thing, same 3 reasons: gratitude, the planet, my health. And then the highlight of my morning is we then sit down, Bridget and I keep going to Paula, Bridget and I sit down and have breakfast together. So that habit, if you keep doing it often enough and you lower the barrier of entry, so I don't need gym gears. I don't need a gym membership. I don't need anything to actually go and do the things that I do in the morning. I literally just need my mind to stay focused on my purpose.
Yeah.
And as one of the young people in this room corrected me, reminded me a few years ago before he forced me to become a vegan, he asked me about my purpose and said, "How's that going, Dad?" And I said, "Pretty good." And he goes, "Pretty good? If we had a goal and we shared that with you, and then you asked us how your goal's going and we said pretty good, you'd say, not fucking good enough." And so he said, "Not good enough, Dad. What are you going to do to optimize it?" And we went through this 3-hour beautiful conversation. It was a lecture.
Accountability.
But an amazing communicator, as I said. And at the end of the 3 hours, he said, "So, Dad, how do you feel?" And I said, "I feel pretty, you have motivated me so much." I want to get out of there, right? And he goes, cool. "What do you think?" And I said, "I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense." And he goes, "Cool. Dad, one more question. What are you going to do?" And I was waiting for that because these are sort of questions that, we've had around before. So I'm already listening to these questions, and I said, "I am going to read those research papers that you talked about." And he goes, "Oh, Dad, by the way, I think I'm more accredited now to read research papers than you are. Unless you don't trust me." That's an important word in our family. And I looked at him, I said, "I'm not saying that." And he goes, "So do you trust me, Dad?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "So I've read the papers, Dad." And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "So, Dad, I'm going to ask you a question again. What are you going to do?" And I said, "I am going to become a vegan from this moment forward."
Thank you. I've got so many burning questions, but let's throw it to you guys. Anybody got a question for Clyde? There's one right up the back. There's one just up here. Shan.
Hello, my name is Tara, and
Tara.
I heard you speak about starting your year as if you already met your quota. I wanted to know what that looks like for you and what are some processes or techniques that you do to maintain it.
Thank you, Tara. Great question. I think so. When that challenge was given to me by this amazing lady in my life, which is really easy for her to say, isn't it? I mean, she could say it so easily and so eloquently. Doing it's hard. What I'd put in place was this notion of leading indicators and lagging indicators. Ultimately, a sales quota, any quota, is a lagging indicator. It's a scoreboard issue. The best way you can manage the scoreboard or your league ladder or your quota is focus on your leading indicators. You control those. So the two things and I say, by the way, this is a talk I give to my team every year. They can almost recite it. There's only two things you have control over, team. What you believe and what you do with your time. If you believe you can do your quota or you don't believe you can do your quota, you are probably right. So you might as well believe it. That's number one. Number two is, what are you going to do with your time? And your time should be focused on the leading indicators that's going to give you the highest propensity for success. The quota, the number, is just that. It's a lagging indicator, but it's an indicator which will happen almost automagically when you do all the right things leading up to it. So, example, activity basis. What's your activity? What's the things, and going back to first principle, what would it mean to actually achieve those numbers? Okay, so let me give you an example. So I'm running a team, X $1 million quota. What's my first job? My first job is to work out how do I divide that number up equitably. I use the word equitably, not equally, across my team. What's that based on? It's based on the propensity of that territory, but most importantly, it's based on the individual. What's that individual's capability like? And so I give them those numbers. That's number one. But I've got to give it in a way that they feel that they can achieve. And then I start giving them lots of coaching. And the coaching goes like this: ignore your number. Forget about your number. From this point on, this is the last time we'll talk about your number. What I will talk about, though, is talk to me about how many people you've spoken to this week. Talk to me about what your conversations are like. Talk to me about what worked, what didn't work. So having a beginner's mindset on every single engagement. So in sales, it would be, how many customers do you need in order to hit this thing called this nebulous thing called a quota? X number. Okay, just do some maths. Just divide it back. Okay, so that means you need 10 customers. That means you need probably 10 contacts per customer. And you can just do the math. So this week, you need to go after 10 contacts. How are you going with that? Our boss has been really hard. Okay, let's talk about why it's hard. These are all leading conversations. And then you coach people on those leading things. And then by about the end of the first quarter, it's actually quite a nice little, epiphany that happens. And they start just working on what they can control. They can't control the quota, so let go of it. Control what you can control, which are your leading indicators. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Thanks, Clyde. That was great. How do we find out more about
Sorry, what's your name?
Shift? Sorry, Shannon.
Shannon.
Tell me more about Shift.
Oh, Shift. Oh, I should get the communicator up here to talk about that. So Shift is a grassroots organisation which started 18 months ago by a couple of, young people who are looking around going, this world's going nuts. And we can sit here drinking, kombuchas and vodka, and we can wax and wane about how awful things are, or we can actually do something about it. So they've come up with a methodology because they recognized that they had all this energy and this yearning to do something, but they didn't know quite what to do. And then they realized actually there's a couple of steps that we can go through. We can start voicing our opinions and our thoughts, and which they're already doing. They can then start looking at what they can vote for, and they can vote, in a political structure, but also vote in terms of what you do. Then you can start prioritizing how you spend your money. So for us, again, we moved some of our banking to Bank Australia. Why? Because Bank Australia has never, and according to them, will never lend money to the fossil fuel industry. We think that's pretty important. But it takes some discipline to do that. So they've come up with a methodology to actually help us, get on a single piece of paper to work out the vernacular, the concepts and the constructs. And then it's about how do we now we've got this energy, how do we amplify our voice, amplify our efforts? How do we work out what to do? Because sometimes not knowing what to do is a real frustration. You've got this burning thing inside, you don't know where to go. Having this group and these little cohorts allow you to share things with each other. So we started doing that, and we're using Slack, which is an amazing software thing, which we all just share with each other. We're with each other. So when somebody does something, we go, "Holy crap, that's cool! Let's just plagiarize that and do it again." So that's what it is. If anyone's interested, come and see me. I'll put you in contact with Levi's partner.
Question out the front here.
Thank you. My name is Mitchell again. And my question is about, I think it was in the meeting, the round table, and you said the core issue that you got to is patriarchy. I was wondering if you could say what you did after that, or what comes from that, because patriarchy, I think there's maybe some more specific examples or things that we can do from that would be really helpful for all of us to know.
Thank you, Mitchell. By the way, I don't have the answers. All I know is I'm curious. I'm always curious, and I like to think about things before I act on them. So for me, it's about our thinking. And, Michael mentioned masculinity and I mentioned the mask concept. So as men, we need to understand that we start in a position in history, in a position of privilege. We start from there. And so therefore, we need to always engage with the issue, the person, or whatever it happens to be, recognizing that we are coming with all of this really privilege, and the other person may not be. I'll give you an example. I came back from a trip overseas. I was exhausted, but I'm, back then I was doing the 4.5 hours sleep, so I thought I was Superman. Sat down for dinner. My highlight of my week is my family dinner, and the conversation went on. I talked about racism, which is obviously a bit of a passion of mine, and my partner said, "Yeah, but actually about the gender thing," and I went, "For God's sake." Back then she was Paula. "For God's sake, Paula, can't you just give me this moment, just talk about racism?" And I recognised I was getting a bit
below the line.
Right? Yeah. So I said, "Hey, listen, I think I'm going to go to bed." Right? So I went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and there was a message on our WhatsApp group, and the message was, "Hey, Clyde, who got the vote first, a black man or a white woman?" And I went, yeah, I got her. And I went, oh, no. If she's asking me that question, she already knows the answer. So I looked it up quickly on Google, and she goes, and I go, oh, crap. I went back and I said, I'm sorry, I'm a doofus. Why? Because I forgot about that. And I know when I'm tired, all of my prejudices come to the fore. So I think as men, we can remember that, try and remember it over again. The more we remember it, the more we will respond in a way that's actually more equitable.
Holding space for it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Let's give Clyde a big round of applause.
Back with Clyde. Clyde, how are you going, brother?
Very good, man. How's things with you?
Yeah, amazing. For those that are tuning in, this is what just happened. All right, midway through an episode, I just introduced Clyde again. Yeah, right, exactly. So basically, we had Clyde live at the podcasting live experience at Get Hacked. It was an incredible chat we've had. And for those listening to the audio, just to make this kind of seamless for you, you've just been listening to the first 20 minutes. And now this is the next little bit, just because we had so much fun in that chat that we want to go a little bit further, a little bit deeper, a little bit wiser, a little bit more hungry for a deeper conversation. The passion continues. So we're here, and we're just going to continue exploring the conversation. Hopefully we'll pick up sort of where we left off, but in light of where things are at the moment, we're all kind of weaving through this stay-at-home period, and yeah, Clyde and I were just talking about maybe around setting boundaries almost. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, brother.
So, man, you know what's happened, right? So we had that amazing event beginning of March, wasn't it?
Yep.
And literally straight after that, we at work went into lockdown, right? So every single employee had to work from home. So I initiated what I call the daily huddle, and it was just an opportunity in recognition that we are social beings, right? At the end of the day, we can be healthy, we can be strong, we can be fast, we can be adaptable, but if we're alone, we're dead, right? So we're social creatures, and recognizing that, we put in a daily huddle, which literally, on Friday ended 3 weeks of a daily huddle. Beginning to end, at the beginning, my team were a bit apprehensive, a bit concerned about what the hell's going on. But as the days turned into weeks and turned into almost a month now, the session we had on Friday was quite insightful. What a number of people said was, hey, you know what, Clyde, this wasn't our first choice at the beginning, but can we just say one thing? When this whole thing finishes, can we please keep the daily huddles going? Because we have recognized what each other's going through. We're being real with each other. We're being authentic with each other. Now, what we just spoke about before you turned the mic on, I was telling you how we ended an amazing week, both from a business point of view, but also from a personal point of view. And this week really rounded out 3 big things. One was obviously it's the 3rd week in a row where we're working from home. The daily huddles have gone from strength to strength. And we've initiated what we're calling a weekly well-being practice as well now. So I brought in somebody who I met, just like meeting you, man, on a different event. I met the beautiful well-being keeper. She knows who she is. And I brought her into my business, and she is now running a weekly campaign with us to actually improve our well-being. That was number 1. Number 2 was, I think I mentioned to you at the talk, our eldest son has severe autism. He's 36, going to be 37 this year. And my wife keeps saying, stop talking about the next year, just talk about now. He's 36 right now. He's an amazing human being. He gives all of us so much pride, courage, understanding about what humanity is all about. But this week we had what's called the NDIS plan renewal. Now, for those of you out there in the NDIS world and the NDIA world, NDIS stands for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and it's run by the NDIA, the National Disability Insurance Agency. And I've got to tell you, when they first started, it was pretty much that essence of a government program, right? Faceless, emotionless, not intimate,
Machine.
A machine, right? And then you and I spoke about how do we move from machine to organism. And this week we had a renewal and a big shout out to an amazing planner in the NDIA called Raimonda. That's Raimonda. Raimonda, if you're listening, you are a legend, you're a superstar, because what you did was you met us. You didn't know us, but you met us with empathy, with compassion, and with patience. Now, for those of you who are in the disability field, or supporting someone with disability, or supporting someone who's aged, or supporting someone with needs, you know what a amazing experience that is, but also what an amazing challenge that is. So going through a plan rewrite can be very emotional and very well, it's challenging, to put it mildly. And not just the financial and the planning part of it, but actually it brings up a lot of emotion, because we are parents, we're human beings with flesh and blood, and it's an opportunity to think about our son, think about, has he achieved the goals he achieved? Well, we went through the plan and we were elated because honestly, 2 years ago when we started this plan, we were probably close to a complete breakdown in our family. Aaron was going through, a challenge. No, he wasn't. Aaron was experiencing challenging issues because the environment wasn't set up to meet
Supporting
his
him.
needs.
Right.
And my wife Bridget has been always on about look at the world through Aaron's eyes. So we did that, and through her long-suffering patience but determination, we reinvented and reimagined what his world would look like. Today, if I do a quick contrast, he was self-injurious, he was quite anxious, quite angry, and it did pivot into self-violence and violence to other people. So his position within our family was quite tenuous, to put it mildly, right? Because we're very tight family, we stay together. Fast forward 2 years, and it's chalk and cheese. And what it is, it's like all of us. We are all capable of all things given the right circumstances, right? So this replan was a sync point for us. We were sitting each other, looking at each other, smiling. We were doing it over a phone because of the whole COVID situation. But Raimonda didn't give a toss. She called us, she listened, and even though we didn't have the benefits of being human in terms of seeing each other and all that, we spoke to each other. We spoke to each other as parents. We spoke to each other as two human beings. And at the end of it, we said to it 3 things. One is thank you for being so generous with your time and your compassion. Thank you for listening. She literally said, look, I can't see any reason why we won't renew this. Bridget and Clyde, do you want this renewed for a year, 2 years, or 3 years? We said 3 years because we don't want to do this again, be sure. But we also want the right to come back and renew as an early renewal. Yes, no problem. She goes, what's the other 2 things? The other 2 things are, one, excuse me, Raimonda, from our point of view, you are an exemplar of what we regard as what would be a really good planner. So we want to let you know that because we feel that very strongly. The third thing is we want to be part of making you a standard, if you like, a logo bearer of what good looks like. So we want to write to your manager, tell them the good feedback, right? The third thing that happened this week was, pardon me again, we settled on a property yesterday. Now this property Bridget saw 4 weeks ago. We signed the contract 3 weeks ago. We settled yesterday. We settled on Friday, sorry, today's Sunday. Settled on Friday. And yesterday, our 2 younger sons, Bridget and myself, took it upon ourselves to move everything ourselves. Now, our 2 younger sons know us really well. They know we don't really take no for an answer. Everything is about yes, and. But I've got to tell you, having movers that care makes a big difference. We live in a beautiful building. The concierge said, one of the concierge was actually basically helping our 2 sons move everything. And this morning he said to us, you've got 2 amazing sons. He said, we've witnessed lots of moves, lots of movers. We have never seen any 2 men move things with such care and such thinking as your 2 sons did. Even when they were challenged with problems that you didn't tell them how to fix, they just went about it, and you could see the 2 of them talk to each other, find a solution. If it worked, good. If it didn't. So today we're sitting here after, I'm going to tell you, I went to bed at 10:30 last night, and Bridget was still going, and she looked at me with that particular look that only her husband knows. The look was WTF, and I said, baby, I need to go to bed right now because I don't want to be apologizing about my behavior in the morning. And so this morning I woke up full of energy, feeling good, looked at Bridget, and she goes, yeah, okay, I get it. She went to bed at 20 to 2 this morning. She got up about an hour after me. But what's beautiful is, if you would have seen the before and after shots, you look at our place right now, we're minimalists, but we're also sort of perfectionists in terms of we know what we like. And literally our last 3 homes, this is the 3rd one, have looked pretty much the same, and for a very good reason. Aaron, our eldest son, doesn't like change. So we've now got to a point where we know what we like, what we don't like. And his bedroom was set up so that when he walked out of one apartment in the same building into a new apartment, as far as he was concerned, he didn't miss a beat.
Yes,
and that is the definition of success for us. That we've had this amazing week. Work has been fantastic, and the organisation I work for, and I'll mention it if that's okay. It's an amazing technology company called Salesforce. But to me, they're a people company first. It's all about trust. It's all about their people. They have been, I could not imagine working with anybody else at this particular moment in time, because they truly understand what we're going through, and they're enabling every one of us leaders to lead your teams the way they need to be led. And that to me is a powerful, powerful situation. And then on home life, it's the same energy, it's the same approach, it's the same can-do attitude, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead, right? That's what we do in life, that's what we do at work. And for that reason, you're not using up a lot of cognitive load thinking about who you are in what persona. So for me right now, gratitude, brother, everything's about gratitude right now, because I'm so happy that I've got the body I've got the headspace I've got the family I've got, I'm living in an amazing country, working for an amazing company. I'm just grateful that I am where I am right now in the space I'm at right now.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So a lot of questions emerged out of what you're sharing for me. The first one being, what does leadership look like to you? Like, what does it actually mean? Like, what is leadership to you?
This is funny. We haven't practiced this, and it's funny you should ask that, because there's two things I'm leading, new things I'm leading at work. One is called our well-being stream, so well-being, and the other one is we run an off-site called Dojo. And Dojo, by definition, is about a training place, right? And so it used to be a subset of the entire organisation 2 or 3 years ago, and it was started by an amazing leader of ours who's still in our business, called Lee Hawksley. If you're out there, Lee, shout out to you. And he devised a plan which said, okay, let's continually train and practice so that we, and I love this saying, so we sweat more in practice, so we bleed less in battle.
I like that.
Let's do all the training. Let's do all hard stuff in training, right? So he used to take us offsite for 2-3 days, leaders for 3 days, and everybody else for 2 days, where we literally, all of us leaders would lead, and individual contributors would actually lead sessions and learn together, right? Now, we're in a new world now, right? So we can't go offsite. So we're reimagining that right now in the digital world. So we're doing that. We've got a committee together. I'm leading the people stream. And we run this dojo on what we call the 4 Ps. People, pipeline because, pipeline of people, pipeline of revenue, pipeline of ideas and all that. Process, are we continuous improvement, the ending idea, and then performance. What's our lagging indicator? What's our leading indicators? So I've been asked to lead the people stream. Why? Because everyone knows that I'm crazy about people, but I'm also crazy about wellness, and as I mentioned to you before, I'm a first principle guy, so I just keep going back to assumptions. The assumptions that we made before, are they still valid? Let's just break them right down to the elements, right? And the one thing I do know is what Richard Branson understood a long, long time ago. It's all about the people, stupid. It's all about the people. Get your people feeling amazing, and they will do amazing things. If you want to create amazing customer experience, give your employees amazing experience. Make them feel like they can be fearless. Make them feel that they're working in a psychologically safe environment where everything matters. So back to your question, what does leadership mean right now? For me, for the stream I'm leading, it's all about servant leadership. How do we serve up people so that they can be their best in whatever situation? And if we teach them the skills and give them experiences so that they just build that resilience, we don't have to teach them the hard skills, right? There's hard skills, technical skills, and soft skills. What we're doing right now, right? You're looking at me, I'm looking at you across a beautiful digital divide, but we're looking at each other, we're smiling at each other, we know what we're doing, we're connecting, right? If we build those skills, then it doesn't matter what the problem that comes over the pike is that our people have to face. They just refactor, reconfigure. They go, hey, Amrit, you are awesome at communicating. You're an amazing listener, You can harmonize what you hear, and you can ask really, really insightful questions. We need you to do this function. Is that okay with you? And you, because you are balanced, because you've been given this great psychological safety, you don't go, hey, hang on a second, I'm the freaking boss here. What are you giving me a task to do? You just go, yeah, peace. If I can help, I'll do that, right? Because we're all in this together. And I'm watching this team of ours doing that. So for me, the first lesson is forget about your people. Think about yourself as a leader. Think about what kind of leader you want to be. You need to be a servant leader, which means you eat last. Leaders eat last. I don't know if you've heard that quote before, right? I think it's I think it might be a military term. But leaders eat last. That means you make sure your troops, make sure your team, make sure your family eat first. You need to keep some in reserve because you need to actually lead them. But make sure they're okay. If they're okay, then you can set the horizon to go after. And if you are treating them well, they don't care how many thorns are there, how much glass is there, how many boulders there, doesn't matter how steep the incline is, they will go after it because you have inspired them to be the best they can be. The only way you can do that is by lead as a servant. Lead by giving first.
I love that because that was going to be my next question. What does servant leadership look like? But I think describing that as leaders eat last is a really good way of describing that. One of the challenges perhaps for those that are listening in, and perhaps one of the challenges I've got in my head is it's like, how does one show up to become a leader as a servant? So for me, it's quite straightforward. Like service is, the whole ethos behind the inspired evolution. I provide a service. For me, it's like, if I can live in service, for me, that's the hack to freedom, right? Because as soon as you're like, freedom is this, people are like, if I disconnect from everything, I'll be free. And actually it's like, no, you still got to be looking for stuff to do. If you can learn to serve in the lane which you love to show up in, that is actually the essence of freedom, right? But that conversation isn't had so much. But service and leadership, I love that. For me, setting up my own venture is totally normal. But for those that are perhaps looking for roles within companies such as yourself, how does one show up to, let's just say, rude example, but a job interview going, hey, I'm here as a leader, but I want to serve. And then they're just like, does that go down well?
I think for those organizations who are evolved or evolving, they recognize that.
They get it.
Those organizations who go, you want to be a what? I don't think we're a place for you here. You should say thank you. Thank you for letting me know that at this interview, right? If that's the organization you are. I'm being a bit black and white about it. I don't like to polarize, but sometimes you've got to stand by your own principles, and principles aren't negotiable. Now, you've got to turn up with the right amount of principles at the right time because not everyone's up at your level of awareness or
share the same
inspiration, principles. Right? Or evolution. Pardon the pun there. But I think the truth is, again, if you lead with empathy, always, that saying, truth without some level of compassion is nothing other than cruelty. If I said to you, wow, hey, Amrit, you're looking pretty ordinary this morning, buddy. You must have had a big party last night. If I didn't understand, if I didn't lead with empathy, the empathetic approach would be, hey, Amrit, how's it going? What's been happening? How was your night? Did you get a good night's sleep? Was your week challenging? Blah, blah. I can lead that way rather than going, mate, you look shit. What's going on? Normally when I see you, you're looking bloody polished, right? Now you're looking. So that's, to me, truth with compassion. Truth with compassion is you always must have your truth, but you don't tell someone they look like crap if you don't know what road they've walked to meet you there. You first give them the benefit of the doubt. You first think about what has been their journey to there. If you don't know, guess what you do? You zip it, right? And you explore, really explore about what's going on. So that organization who says to me, Clyde, you want to be a servant leader, man, you better go and sweep the streets. I'll go, with pleasure. With pleasure. Because I understand, Simon Sinek's 4 drugs that drive our physical body, right? And so, endorphin, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And I understand that the first 2 are selfish drugs, are about us and our own achievements, and the second 2 are selfless drugs. The more I do that, the more I give, right? And serotonin, when do you get it? You get it when you're serving other people. You get it when you're connecting with other people. You get it when you get that feel-good experience, when you go, I didn't want anything out of this, but you know what? I connected with this guy called Amrit, and we spoke about this stuff, and I helped him just
turn the dial just a little bit in this problem that he hinted at me. And I just gave him something. It may not come in anything, but I felt good just giving without expecting anything in return. That feeling, that's humanity. That is what leaders should be general all the time. Where do leaders, how do leaders learn? Go to nature, man. Go to nature. Go to the world and go to your inner world. Go to your inner world about yourself, what works, what doesn't, what feels really good, and think about then your medium-sized world, which is your family. Think about the times when you led without even thinking about leading. The biggest leader in our family is Bridget. No two words about it. She hates me saying it. She hates me saying it publicly because she's a PDA, a private display of affection, not a PDA, public one. Right? So she wants private adoration. She wants private recognition. She doesn't like public. So, and as our youngest said to me, Dad, you do know you do that public stuff because it makes you feel good. I said, no, it's true. He goes, you and I are the same. We love it, right? But Mum and Aiden, they're not big raps for that, right? They're not big fans of that, right? In a private setting, when it's intimate, no problem. But out in public, Dad, how many times has Mum told you, stop telling everybody what I do, right? Stop calling me a coach. Right? And I can't help it because I'm so freaking proud of it, but I've got to learn that. So learn from your natural surroundings, natural settings. Learn from how your son led you. Learn what that leadership was. What did he do for you? And then what did you do back in terms of serving his purpose, serving his principles, serving his values or her?
I love that, Clyde. And so what's coming to the fourth with me, which is almost just worthy of a moniker itself, is lead with growth and well-being is kind of what I'm hearing as I'm having this conversation with you. And so in terms of we've touched on it in terms of there is a shift that is underfoot, and if you're not landing in the shift that on the other side of the shift, then go looking for that shift and let that shift be where you plant your feet because you stand for those principles and what you vote with your presence, you vote with your dollar. So lead with growth and well-being. I really love that. So tell us more about what it doesn't always sound intuitive, right? Like leading generally, maybe this is the old paradigm and we're talking about two different paradigms. And for those that are tuning in, maybe it's quite clear that there's two different paradigms, but maybe let's just flag it as that, two different paradigms. There is like a performance paradigm, which perhaps is, less cognizant of the fact that the performance is driven by people, and which is why you also people focus and talking about well-being. Tell us about leadership and well-being and why in your mind they're so intrinsically interwoven and connected, and what role does growth then play into that?
So, you can see this quote behind me. I don't know if you want to read that.
Live as if you were to die tomorrow and learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi, I love that.
So, good old Uncle MG said that, right? No, he wasn't my uncle, but I don't know.
Old mate MG.
Old mate MG.
He's all our uncles.
Go MG. For me, everything is about a growth mindset. So let me just quickly go back to a story I tell people why I left this amazing organization to join Salesforce. And in my exit interview, the HR director had an exit interview and said, Clyde, can you explain why you're leaving IBM? Now, IBM is a pretty amazing organization, been there forever, probably going to be there forever, right? They're just a rock star organization. And I said, I thought a long and hard about this, and I don't use this word I do use it actually more often than I used to. I never used to use this word a lot. I loved IBM, right? I loved everything it stood for. I loved my role in it. I loved the people I worked with. I loved what we were doing. I loved our values, our vision, our mission, all that stuff. So then, and I spent 15 years with them, right? So 15 years of my life, right? That's a fair innings,
sizable
right?
amount of time, yeah.
Yeah. So when this person up and they said, have you considered why? I said, of course I considered. I considered for 3 years before I pulled it in. They said, 3 years? I said, yeah. I said, I struggled with this for 3 years. And they said, so what was it? I said, it comes into three things. It comes down to what you said before, growth. And I don't mean just revenue growth, I mean growth mindset, right? Growth. I wanted to have a growth mindset. I want to have a growth posture. I want us to be in a growing mode, right? The second thing I wanted was a sense of learning. And this is why this quote's so important for me, and they're tied together actually. The more I learn, the more I grow, the more I understand how little I know. It's almost, it could be a rap verse, right? So learning, right? I'm not learning anymore, right? Why am I learning anymore? I'm not learning because the environment doesn't allow me to learn. And if we understand what the environmentals are to allow someone to be a learner, it actually goes back to what I said before, psychological safety. When you create psychological safety, people are more prone to learn anything. They just pick up anything. They learn from everything, right? When you don't have psychological wellness or psychological safety, it's a bit like back in the classroom. Are you going to put your hand up and say, excuse me, miss, I don't understand that. Can you explain to me again? When you know the last three times you've done it, everyone's looked at you, pointed at you, called you stupid. And the teacher talked down to you. You wouldn't do it, right? You wouldn't do it. So learning is the second thing. The third thing, which I think is equally as important, there was no fun. There's no fun in what we were doing anymore. And you've got to have fun. And I don't mean fun like dressing up like a clown, but genuine fun in what you do. Because when you have fun, it's not work. It's passion, it's energy, it's all you're all aligned and you're in flow state, right? Beautiful flow state. So they're the three reasons I left IBM. And guess what the three reasons why I joined Salesforce? Well, they were the same three reasons.
Right.
Same three reasons. And if you look at Salesforce, what are their values? Number one value, trust. Second value, customer success. Third value, innovation. Fourth value, equality. Now, I disagree with equality because I believe in equity over equality, and it's a nuanced difference. And I reckon eventually we'll get to equity. Sorry, everyone in Salesforce executive. Don't mean to undermine that. But I mean, so there are four values. The reason I talk about equity is equity means it's not a level playing field. Equality is when you give everyone the same amount. I disagree with that. If you've heard the little analogy of the three mates watching the football.
Standing over the fence. Yeah.
Right. So there's the example. And for me, equity is no, the smallest guy, and that's the smallest voice, the person with the least amount, the person with the least access, need to be given the most. Not the other way around, right? Forgiveness is not for the weak. Forgiveness is for the strong. Guys and girls, typically guys, who've got the power, who've got the money, who've got everything, who've got control, you've got to give up some of that, guys. Otherwise, as who was it who said this, the guys, the people with the pitchforks are going to come after you, right? the common folk are going to come after you in your beautiful, luxurious
ivory towers. Yeah.
So for me, it's those three things, right? Growth mindset, growth, and Salesforce is a growth engine in every dimension. We've got an amazing business model, right? It's driven by pay as you go. So therefore, we're only as successful as the last time someone renews, which means we've got our feet on the fire all the time. If you don't like what you see, you've got the option to turn it off. Whereas years gone by, I'd have 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. More importantly, I'd have technical lock-in with you. So you can whinge to me, and I can go, yeah, I really sympathise with you. And I walk out the door and go, hey, you can't go anywhere. I've got it locked and loaded, right? Whereas with Salesforce's business model, pay as you go, allows you to turn it off. Then our technical model is off the planet, right? And if you understand technology, it's pretty impressive. I'm a technologist. The first thing I looked at was their tech stack, and I go, holy crap, this is amazing. How come no one told me about this? And the third thing is we have this integrated corporate philanthropy model. It's called the 1-1-1 model, where 1% of our equity, 1% of our people's time, and 1% of our product goes to causes that matter. To who?
Awesome.
To us, each of us. So tomorrow you tell me, hey brother, I'm running a not-for-profit. Any chance I can use that Salesforce stuff? I say, yeah, you can have 10 licenses for free, forever. Go nuts, right? More importantly, then you turn around and say, this is all pretty powerful stuff, Clyde. I don't know how to use it. I'll say, hang on a second, let me reach into my organization and I'll post on our internal chatter group, hey, this is an amazing organization and they need help setting up Salesforce in their company. Who's up to helping out? And within nanoseconds, you'll have 10 people saying, from product managers all the way through to hard edge coders turning up and saying, how can we help?
Incredible.
That is a very powerful thing, right? Which means
And it reflects
what
the
I talked
ethos and the
before.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I said before about the quietest voices, the most vulnerable, they get it. They get our technology, they get our money, they get our people's time for nothing. That's powerful. Then I know I'm with an organization whose leaders' values aren't just on a chart somewhere on the board. Values have been operationalized. Values have been everything we do every day, right? That's powerful.
I love that. And so that brings me back to one of the things you were mentioning about Raymonda and bless her cotton socks. And one of the things that came through was the key thing that I heard she did was actually, as you highlighted, the empathy and the compassion. She met you where you were at. I think that was like the fundamental takeaway of what I was hearing between the lines of what you were sharing. And I think in terms of leadership, it was a really profound example because what I was hearing was even within the organization, the NDIS scheme, or wherever she was, she's probably not. There's definitely a better way to put this at the top of the food chain, but she's within her organization and she is leading, as you said. She ought to be benchmarked to lead by example. And the reason you felt that way was because she was evoking such empathy and compassion and meeting people that she was interacting with where they were at. So how important is that empathy, compassion, and actually meeting people where they're at with regards to leadership? And does that highlight that you don't have to be at the top to lead? You can lead from anywhere.
So it is everything. You started talking about different modes of leadership, and I'll come back to that in a second. But what Raymonda does, she's a leader, right? She's a leader by any measurement. Now, she may not have leader in her title, but she recognizes that that in that interaction, she could lead. She could lead with compassion. She could lead with empathy, and she could lead with amazing, present listening skills. They're really important leadership attributes. When we have our group huddles, and when I have a one-on-one, half of that time, in fact, the group huddles is all about just tell me how you feel. I tell them what's been happening in the last 24 hours we met, what's worked for me, what hasn't. That's all I say. Vulnerability and all, right? And then I will say, and this is the help I would love to have. 2 minutes. And then I nominate the next person. So I go, Bindi, over to you. You do the same thing and then hand it over to somebody else. So within a 25-minute period, we can get through everybody. And at the end of it, I try and wrap it up in terms of, okay, these are the 3 themes. I love threes, by the way. These are the 3 themes that I picked up. This is what we're going to do. That's leadership. Listen with empathy, with compassion, with generosity, with an open heart. Listen to everybody, but make sure everyone has a voice. Give everyone the opportunity, right? And give them the right environmental so they can feel, they can talk. And at the end of it, a leader puts into action something.
Love that.
Right? So with Raymonda, bless her socks, she listened with empathy, with generosity, with an open heart, with 2 ears, and be totally present. And then within 24 hours, she turned that around and executed the plan that she said she was going to do. A plan which usually takes up to 2 weeks, right? So she's a rock star. She's the kind of person that the NDA needs to grab and clone. Not in terms of exactly how she does it, but the essence of her value structure, her approach. Then make sure every single person does it with their own stylistics. Now, I want to go back to something you talked about before about leadership. The old world, people would confuse leadership with managers. And I see them as 2 different distinct things, distinct roles. Everybody and anybody can be a leader. A manager is in your title. And typically the way I view it, a manager is someone whose primary goal is to optimize operations, i.e. it's an efficiency drive.
Yeah.
So let's sit down. If I'm your manager, let's sit down, show me what you do, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's what you're going to do from here on in. You're going to do this, this, and this. What tone does that set to you, right? It's letting you know, I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So that's cool, as long as the issues that you're dealing with and the workload you're doing is simple.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it becomes volatile, as soon as it becomes, complex or lacks understanding or is ambiguous, ambiguity is the main one, because I think that's the mode we're in right now. As soon as those things happen, what happens to my ability to be able to manage? Well, it goes out the door, because you will say to me, yeah, but boss, that's not the problem we're trying to resolve for right now. It's this. And I go, listen, I told you what to do, go and do it. And you go, okay. Then what happens is you end up with shadow behavior. You will tell me one thing, the thing I want to hear, and you'll go about trying to do something else. Now, what happens to you now? What is your cognitive load now? Your cognitive load's going through the roof because you're trying to please me with a bullshit set of KPIs while you're trying to do the real work for the real people that matter.
Right.
Wrong behavior. Right? One is an efficiency driver, which is a manager. The other one is an optimization driver, which is leadership. Leaders are all about how do I optimize the environment, the systems to allow you to be the hero in your story.
Boom, and hence the conversation around wellness. That makes a lot of sense.
Spot on, spot on. And for me, the starting point is that story we hear every time we get on the aircraft. If the oxygen mask comes down, please remember to put the mask on yourself. You know, I asked this question of all my team, and there's one particular member of my team, Dominica. Shout out to you, Dominica. You're a rock star and you know it. You know, at the beginning of the 3 weeks, and what I love about her was she's so transparent and so honest about her feelings, her concerns, or her fears, and how this changed working environment was affecting her, both work-wise and personally. She's of proud Italian heritage, so for her, part of her principal role was, Clyde, you've got to understand, I'm an Italian mother. I've got to cook 5 times a day when I'm home. And I've got to give my husband some time in the evening so he can have some time so he can rest. I said, cool, that's fantastic. I said, and who is doing the same thing for Dominica? And she goes, oh, Clyde, you don't understand. As an Italian wife, an Italian mother, this is my duty. I said, cool. I said, Dominica, I'm going to ask you one question. You're not going to like this question. It's going to hurt you, but I have to ask you. Dominica, if you weren't here anymore, who's going to look after those 2 beautiful bambinos of yours? Who's going to support that wonderful husband of yours? Who? And she said, she looked at me, she goes, oh my God, don't ever say that to me, Clyde. And I said, I need you to think about that. If you aren't there, you will burn yourself to the core. You will become ashes very soon. I need you to recognize the best thing you can do for those beautiful children of yours, for that amazing husband of yours, is to look after yourself. Begin with your well-being. Begin with your strength, your emotion, your psychology, everything. Begin with yourself. That first hour of the day, give it to yourself. Because I promise you one thing, there is a person who will thank you for that. You know who that is? And she said, my children. I said, no. She goes, you. I said, no. She goes, who? I said, your future self. Your future self will look back 20 years ago and say, Dominica, of 20 years ago, thank you for putting yourself first. Because in doing so, you've done all these amazing things for your 2 children and your amazing husband and your company you work for and the community you live in and the world in which you reside. Because of what you did for yourself, you were there then available for everybody else. Now, mothers in particular, listen to me, please. Listen to what I said. Put the oxygen mask on your face first. Fathers, I know you manage to look after yourself well enough, right? Fathers do less. But the mothers, please look after yourself. What Dominica did then, I think a week later, she said to me that on one of our one-to-one, she goes, you know, we sat down. I only share this because she shared it in an open forum. Clyde, team, you'll be very proud of me. Last night I sat down with my husband, we wrote up a schedule, just like we do at work. Funny that, huh? And we agreed when we were going to have time for ourselves, when we were going to have time together, what tasks we're going to do. You know, she said, you know, my husband isn't all that happy, but he's happy enough. And now we're both getting what we need. I said, peace. I said, to this day, my wife does more work than I do. I try and catch up with her, I can't. Every time I lift, she doubles it. She figures I've come from such a far place from behind, I've got to catch up. So hopefully, before this whole life of mine finishes, she'll say, yes, you kept up with me.
Oh, the strength of women. And let's I'm conscious of the time, but I just want to sort of take that into the last little bit that we can have a conversation with. Is, you know, there is a shift underfoot, and you were alluding to, we've been talking about it a little bit. So there are more and more female leaders emerging. What is just your own 2 cents on what you're seeing in the workspace, why this is such a necessary shift now more than ever? Just your 2 cents on female leadership.
It's very simple. So what we need in a world which is which in a VUCA world which is going to become more VUCA, is we need amazingly creative thinkers. One of the best ways to drive creativity is diversity of thought. One of the best ways to drive diversity of thought is get the bloody sex balance right.
Yeah.
I don't use the word gender anymore because gender is a man-made concept. I use sex, right? Females and males. Get that gender balance right, because I've got to tell you, as soon as you get a critical mass of females in a meeting, it's amazing what happens with decision making. It's amazing how the pie grows. See, us guys, we used to what? Going out there, hunting for stuff, and recognizing there's a scarcity of bloody wild buffalo or kangaroo or whatever it is we're hunting, right? So we have a scarcity mentality built into our DNA. So when you have a scarcity mentality, guess what? When you and I, buddy, go hunting, and if we're hunting for two different tribes, guess what happens if we both see a kangaroo or whatever it is, right? We see one of them. Guess what happens first? We look at each other and go, no, this is mine. We start fighting with each other, right? We'll start fighting to the point where that kangaroo or whatever runs off.
It's gone. Yeah.
Now we're both dead, right? But two women hunters would look at it and go, you know what? We have to both survive. So why don't we join forces? Why don't we think about what we need? And the more we join forces, the better we become at this. Maybe we can grow our ability to hunt and be more successful more often at a time. And then we can bring back more back to the tribes. It's that same way today. When I'm in a room and we have a better than even odds of women to men, we have some of the most expansive thinking, and we have respect in the room. That's the main one as well, right? Respect in the room, where every idea is valued, is then yes and, as opposed to no but responses, right? Yes, and what I've found in the past is this: help me understand how your version will help or will work this time. So the yes and approach as opposed to the no but. The other thing is, women do one thing that men have got to learn to do really well. They ask questions, they don't make statements. Women ask questions. What do? When someone's talking to us, we say very quickly, if we're running out of time, we're running out of energy, we go, okay, so what is it you want me to do? What do you mean what I want? I want you to sit here and listen to me. Oh, really? That it? No, listen to me intently, listen to me honestly, listen to me with your listening ears on. Don't just put an effigy of yourself, a picture of yourself to listen to me. But when I want your advice, Clyde, I'll ask for it. But until then, keep your opinions to yourself and ask more questions. Don't make statements, ask more questions. So how did that make you feel? So what did you do before? So what do you think good looks like? Those sort of questions, right? And guess where those questions typically come from? They come from women. You know why? Because women have been traditionally, and men have got to learn to do this fast, have been traditionally community builders. And for a community builder, you've got to know the community. You've got to be connected with the community.
Yep.
Hunters, on the other hand, all they have to do is do one task: get out there, hunt, bring back, throw it to the women in the group, then go and sit down and sleep, right? Because you're absolutely knackered. And, by definition, you've been working very hard. The truth is now we're going, we don't have to do that kind of hunting anymore. So what can we do to make sure we share the load more equitably? And then what can we learn from the women in our lives and beyond? We can learn how to ask amazing questions. We can learn how to listen intently. We can learn that we can make the pie bigger, not fight over the morsels of a small pie. Scarcity versus abundance mentality, a listening skill set, compassion, empathy, all those things come from soft skills, which traditionally used to be women's work. It's now guys Get on the train, learn this stuff, practice it with your mates. And when your mates turn around and say to you something stupid like, what's wrong with you, Clyde? Are you turning gay or something? What are you asking all these questions for? You say, firstly, don't say that. That's such an ignorant thing to say. Why can't I just ask you, Amrit, how you are? Why can't I dig deeper? If you don't like that, then maybe we're just not the relationship that I thought we were. I thought we were mates. Mates actually help each other. Mates don't just cry into our beer mugs. Mates cry to each other and then allow each other to help one another. Women have been doing this for a millennia or more.
Eons.
Guys, let's learn from them.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I did say that was going to be the last, but I've got one more question. What you like? I know you've got 3 really remarkable children, and they're all so distinct in their unique energies, and you shared that in the first half of this. And I love, I just love how much you're open to learn from them and their personalities, and what they bring to the world. And I love the way you're nourishing that and learning from that and nourishing yourself through that as well. So one of the questions I have, just for those that are tuning in, because the demographic of the Inspired Evolution, we're all a little bit younger. So just tuning in, like, what advice would you be giving? Like, do you find yourself giving across the board to all 3 children in terms of leadership? Like, seeing them as leaders, because I know what they're up to, and a lot of them are in the leadership space. They're definitely grabbing life by the reins and taking charge to a certain degree. What pieces of advice have you distilled, or do you find yourself sharing, or what do you think? Like you've shared to them that they've actually heard what you've learned from them, but what have you shared to them that's helped them?
That is such a good question. The measure of success is in the results. If you go back to first principles, right? If you think about physics and chem, you work out what the elements are, you come up with a hypothesis, you come up with a method, you come up with your materials, you then assess whether the assumptions you made at the beginning were proved out in the experiment. So we're living an experiment, really, right? We're living this amazing experiment. We brought into this world three human beings who didn't choose to be brought into this world. So firstly, the big aha moment happened to me was recognition that they owe us nothing, we owe them everything. Right? That was the first thing. And I didn't get it for a long time. Again, I keep using the C word about my beautiful wife, Bridget. She's coached me along the way, right? In some ways, some would argue that she hasn't been that good a coach because it took her 20 years to help me. But I would counter by saying I was a classic male chauvinist, patriarch, probably misogynist now when I think back. So therefore my ears weren't open. And
the old unstoppable force met an immovable object, it seems, and the unstoppable force managed to move the object.
I used to describe her as somebody used to describe one of my favourite footy players, the velvet sledgehammer, right? I don't know if you remember who that was, but that's Bridget in a nutshell. She is so soft. She's you just think she's dainty. She's tiny. You think she'd be flipped over with the briefest of gusts of wind. But this lady, this woman, she is a force. And she knew right at the beginning what her North Star was. Right. She also had to suck some stuff in, right? And that sucking in was okay, this guy I'm married to, he's not quite evolved yet. With a bit of luck, he's going to get there, but I'm going to hang in there. Why? Not out of love. Let me be honest, right? Not out of love. Out of necessity. She knew, and we talk about this a lot, she knew that her odds of succeeding without me were far less than her chance of succeeding with me. Even though I was this huge deficit and boat anchor, right? She knew that. I was a bit of an albatross around her neck. She knew that even that she could actually bring me on. Right now, to all the women out there who've got albatrosses around their neck, who've got boat anchors, the measure is: do they like you? Do they respect you? Are they there during the tough times? If the answer to most of those are yes, then they're probably a good catch and hang on to them. If they don't treat you with respect, if they don't show you they like you, if they don't, I'm not talking love, I'm talking like, which is a big difference, right? Love is good, right? Love is, is written in all the lovely romantic books. like is different. Like is I'm with you because I like you and I like what you stand for, and I'm going to be part of it. So I moved from being a partner to an advocate. I advocate on behalf of you for your ideas, even though the entire world is saying, this lady is bonkers, Clyde. What are you doing? Why are you allowing her to drag you by the nose? And, well, firstly, listen, I'm head of the household. I'm never dragged around the nose unless I'm left to do that, which is always the way. But the truth was, it goes back to that love story, right? With Robert Whitford and before your time, long time ago. And she sang about the way we used to be. She was way ahead of him, but he succumbed to groupthink, to his friends. He was from a particular group which was Upper Hamptons, I think, or somewhere up in the rich echelon of the east coast of America. She wasn't. She was from working class. She knew what she stood. She really knew who she stood for, who she was. He didn't. He was a lemming. She wasn't. They split up. Now, I used to think about that, and I think, man, how amazing. We've been together now 40 years, right? 40 years. We started going out when Bridget was when Bridget used to be called Paula, right? We've gone out when she was 15, I was 17, married at 20 and 18, 2 sons by the time I was 21, and she was 19. And we've literally been married to different people along the way, but we've had a consistent North Star. And she's really helped me, and I'm so grateful because she hung in there. I wish I wasn't such a doofus, for so long, right? Luckily, I finally got hold of things. And what I really am amazed about is when I finally got my shit together, and I started living one life. My love life went through the roof. My role as a father went through the roof. Well, you need to ask them that though. My role as a leader went through the roof. My career went through the roof. My health went through the roof. Jesus, everything just started working better because it's just like you're in harmony with the universe. And in my universe, she's my son. She's that body that gives and gives without asking for anything in return. So for me and for every other man out there, man, you're just a planet. You're just a dead rock. You're the thing, circling, orbiting that amazing life force called your sun. And your sun is typically that amazing person in your life that gives of themselves without asking for anything in return. So my job is to recognize that and give back. And give back by giving without questioning. That's the ultimate thing.
I love that. Thank you so much, Clyde. There's so many nuggets and so many insights, so much wisdom in everything you've shared. And just so inspirational just to feel into what leadership and the future of leadership tomorrow with wellness, with growth looks like. And I love just feeling into, and just on a really gross level, really mundane level, just the size of the global conversation that Salesforce occupies and the size of the conversation that you occupy within Salesforce is really inspirational for us young leaders that are looking to move into a world which we believe in, which we can stand in proudly. It's really inspirational to have leaders like you guiding us.
Amber, can I say one more thing? And you asked the question, and maybe I didn't answer it fully. I'm just thinking about it right now. What is my message to everyone, at your age and my son's age coming up? The truth is, your 20s to 40s is the most productive period of your life. It really is. So recognize that, but also recognize everybody walks around with fear of failure and that whole notion of we don't belong here. We don't belong in this role. I don't deserve this role, right? So
imposter syndrome.
Absolutely, and that I didn't even want to give it a name, right? Because it's in us all, right? And it's actually what I want to say to everybody is seize your own power. Follow your beliefs. Follow them. Think with make decisions with your heart and execute with your head. What I mean by that is be passionate about what you do, and if you align your passion with everything you do, it's not work. It's honestly, I can promise you one thing, it's not work. It just look at you, right? Look at you beaming on a bloody Sunday morning. Right? So it's not work, right? It's just humans connecting, but it's passion. So when you lead with your heart, but you execute with your head, what I mean by that is you're living in a world that not everybody is at your level of passion. You're not aligned to your way of thinking. So therefore, you've got to remember timing. I just finished watching a movie this morning called General Magic. If anyone has a chance, go and have a look at it. It was the origin story of every great technology that came out of Silicon Valley.
Oh.
General Magic. Have a listen to it. And really, the lesson for me is you can have the best ideas in the world, you can have the best intent in the world, but just like when you're surfing, if you hit that wave too early, you are going to run out of energy, right? You're going to run. So timing is everything. Time your wave. Time your entry. Time when you're going to go after it, right? So time is everything. Make sure you're prepared. You've got all the salient experiences and skills to get after it, but time it properly. And don't think you've got to go after this big goal or big vision. Do increments. Have every single one of those little goals amount to something great. You've heard me talking about the compounding effect of great habits. Start small, but do it every day. That will be my guidance.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, leave us a comment, and if you want to stay in tune for new episodes launching every Monday, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay inspired to evolve.